I'd like to welcome everyone to our webinar to learn more about our multi-purpose community center. We have engaged the services of an architectural firm to design a feasibility study and to look at whether or not we could proceed with building a multi-purpose community center for the citizens and residents of East Providence. Twice in the past, the community has voted on their willingness to see a community center built, but that never came to fruition. That was many, many years ago. And for many years, we've been really without an adequate community center. We had one down in Riverside that was being housed where EB Cap is located, and it was undersized and quite honestly, not what we would want to see for our community. So we started looking at this. We've had internal meetings with our department heads to talk about programming needs and what needs we'd have as a city. So many of our department heads have been involved in speaking with the architect and filling out surveys to provide information to the architectural firm on what programming needs need to be met by this community center. Additionally, we are in support of Governor Dan McKee's proposal to put in his budget $47 million for multi-purpose community and learning centers. So we've submitted a letter in support of that. We're hoping that we have a head start against other communities to have a real plan that we could present to the state if that money gets approved, so that we can get a piece of the funding to support the building of this. We are also working with our federal delegation and asking if we can allocate federal funds to help build this community center for the city of East Providence. Additionally, within the ARPA funding, we would be able to allocate some of the ARPA funding to building us a state-of-the-art community center. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Joseph Caldera and Catherine Loeffenberg from Stark Architects. And I'm going to turn it over to Joseph so that he can go over the initial and very preliminary design of what this community center could look like. Now, we want to take everyone's input at the end. We'll open it up to questions and answers. You can type it in into the Q&A section, and we'll take your input. And if we can make it work, we'll try to make it work. We certainly want to hear from the community. I think it's long overdue that we have our own state-of-the-art community center that services a majority of our community. And just to put it out there, the reason why we're looking at this particular location is that it would serve a large portion of our community. It's directly across from the high school. It's on a bus route. It's in close proximity to the East Providence Senior Center, so that our seniors would be able to utilize some of the programming space during the day. It's really been a nice process thus far, putting together some of the uses. We have included, and you'll see this in the demonstration, we have included police and fire as a component of this building. Because the space that the police and fire currently house, they've outgrown it. And this would be the ability to put the police and fire in a small component of the police and fire into this building to interact with the youth, to create youth and police programs that would help foster better relationships. The fire department, of course, we want them to be part of this because we look at this facility as a facility that could be stood up to deal with any future public emergency needs. So there's a lot of back and forth that's going internally on this, and now we open it up to the architect to discuss what we've come up with initially and to listen to your comments.
Well, thank you, Mayor De Silva. Good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Caldera. I'm a senior associate with Stark Architects. I have my colleague, Catherine Loeffenberg, also joining us on this presentation. We are very excited to be working on this really exciting project for the city of East Providence. We, as the mayor indicated, we've been on board working diligently to really understand the needs of the community, the needs that will benefit from this project, as well as the best way of providing program and facilities and amenities out of this facility that will service the East Providence residents, all residents, that is, just in providing vital services that will include education, job training, and health monitoring. And certainly that will help us and help the city, certainly, in being able to secure funding from these different programs that will that support these types of functions. So what I have on screen today here is an aerial view or site plan of the site. And I apologize because I cannot I cannot extend full screen on my, due to the software we're using, but so I'll zoom in and out to facilitate you seeing a little more in detail what is being shown. Just a couple of things that I wanted to just share in terms of what we were tasked to do. We understand that the city, they have a mission that they are dedicated to creating opportunities for the residents, the members of the police department, and to bring these folks, to bring them together to collaborate in innovative ways. Some of the goals for this project that the city has shared with us: to provide a source for the arts community, center that serves as a thriving hub of activity for youth, families, senior citizens, and civic organizations, to provide law enforcement with a wellness and a police training facility that enables residents and members of the police department to come together and collaborate in innovative ways as well. And most important, no, I shouldn't say most important, but I think this is an exciting space that will create a recreation center that can foster community pride and provide a place to gather, whether it's athletic facilities, performing arts, visual arts, or just learning. I think this will be a great place for residents to come together. So as the mayor indicated, the site is located across from the new East Providence High School. It's a great location. It has the capacity, the real estate. It's close to utilities. Parking is there. We're improving the parking, reorganizing the senior center parking to increase the capacity. On the left-hand side, if you can see my cursor, is the senior center. You would enter the site in the same way you enter the site now to visit the senior center, off of Waterman Ave, along the same repurposing the existing entrance. And then you would park either here in this reorganized parking area, along with some expanded parking to the left of the building, the new building, or north on the page. We've developed a plaza to be a little more inviting and a space, an outdoor space that could provide and support functions during the better weather, summer, spring, and even fall. Could be just, I don't know, a farmer's market. It could be multiple functions that could support the community and people could gather here. To the right and south on the page, we've suggested an amphitheater for performing arts, music performances that could be utilized by community members and local community art groups that could also use the space. You enter, the way the building is organized, you have a larger volume or a larger footprint here, which will be the gymnasium. Functions of this space include a gymnasium that supports basketball activities, volleyball, etc. A multiple purpose gymnasium space. The space is organized along the center, and you'll see a little better in detail once we move on to floor plans, along a streetscape or spine that begins to organize the surrounding spaces. And then to the south, we have some admin spaces, and we also have a multi-purpose assembly / auditorium that will support many of the programs. Indicating here, these are some utilities, some modifications that will need to be made to the existing utility. And then I think we really achieved and we're able to maintain a good amount of green space, open area that could still be utilized by local residents. And we're also proposing to expand and not only maintain, but expand the existing walkway around the perimeter of the site that could also service the community. And again, the primary control point will be off of Waterman Avenue, which is less traffic and easier to access the site. Moving on to the floor plan. Basically, this is a graphic that illustrates the different program requirements that the city identified. To the left, we have the gymnasium. So you would enter through here, through the vestibule, into an open court, similar to a mall, if you will, kind of a central open area, atrium space that organizes all the spaces around, and you'll be able to access each of the spaces. So the user groups that we have here that this facility will serve is the recreation department, law enforcement, as well as the fire department. The library will also have functions and spaces that will be operated out of this facility. A kitchen that will support the recreation department to prepare snacks and meals for the camps that they provide during the summer for the kids, for the youth. And also a large gathering assembly space, as I had mentioned, which is this here to the right, that will service a multitude of functions. Could be job training, could be for press conferences, could be for performing arts, could be for musical. It could just be for gatherings, community gatherings. So really it takes on a multiple use, multiple function space. As you come into the space, to the right, you have a game room, which again is a space that supports the recreation department. Just beyond, there's a multi-meeting classroom space with multimedia capacity that would also integrate relatively new technology, hearing loops that allows and enables hearing impaired individuals to hear just like we would. And that would be integrated not just in this classroom, but also in the auditorium technology, given really universal access and use to everyone. So to the left, we have a large opening that gives you visual and obviously physical access into the gymnasium. The gymnasium is designed to really accommodate multiple athletic functions. Basketball, we have a full court basketball here in the center. Again, with two additional courts. They're not shown striped, but there's two, it's large enough to accommodate two additional basketball courts using the left to right direction of the gymnasium, along with volleyball and other activities that could be here. This facility, this space can accommodate up to 750 spectators. We're proposing retractable seating so that you could certainly host events, you could host tournaments, you could host community gatherings, and again, with spectator capacity on the right side of the gymnasium. North of the gymnasium, we have some support spaces. Again, a workforce, again, this is a very important component of this program in this building, is provide community spaces that could be for workforce training. This will be another space here. Again, multi-purpose space. To the right, and for the community, we have a space that could be for yoga or other types of fitness activities that could function out of this space. Again, within the vicinity of the gymnasium space. To the left, we have some support storage space. And this at the corner is an exit egress stair that services out of the second floor, as well as an exit off the gymnasium. As you can see, it's well open space. It's quite large. The gymnasium, I would say it's a little over 10,000 square feet. In the streetscape, we have a central communicating stair that services in the atrium. To the right of it, we have an elevator that will provide universal access to the entire building. So everyone is welcome in this facility. Additional spaces, again, at smaller gatherings, you have meeting spaces, again, that support the rec department, all the different program functions out of this building, but as well as functions that the community could, local sports could host meetings in here for their teams, or for nonprofit groups that are located in the city. In the back area of the facility here, and the access off the spine, is the Recreation Administrative Office, multiple offices, director offices, small hoteling stations for those folks who don't spend full time in the office and have more of a coming in here for meetings and so on. And then some additional support spaces here to service the recreation administrative space. And then these utility spaces, mechanical, electrical rooms, etc. Another important component I mentioned earlier is the kitchen. And this kitchen not only is for culinary purposes to prepare meals for camping programs, but even to, it's really up to the city to determine the capacity and the function that this kitchen could service. But also as a workforce, you could have culinary instructions happening out of this facility to service the community. Again, it is a multi-purpose community center for the entire community. And just to the right of that, we have the multi-purpose assembly space that's accessed here with plenty of egress and ingress access. And this facility can accommodate up to 300, about 310 folks, occupants. It's tiered seating, so it's ideal for the local performance theater groups, musicals. Again, it can be used also as an assembly to provide seminars for training programs, again, workforce trainings at a much larger capacity. The Auditorium Theater space is equipped with a stage, again, for performances. And the stage will also be fully ADA compliant, universal access. And of course, it will be with the proper acoustics and audio, visual, and lighting that, again, will be able to support the various functions. It's a great space that I think will get utilized quite often. Moving on to the second floor. The second floor is limited in program space, so the second floor provides program space that's secondary, that's not as public. So as you come up, the colored space is an open lobby that organizes the surrounding areas, accessed with the communicating stair, also with the elevator. And just to the right of it, what's in blue are spaces for law enforcement, for various offices and training facilities to support law enforcement or the police department. A larger space here for a wellness program, but also will double up as a multi-purpose workforce training space for functions that could potentially be more physical in nature. Restroom facilities, just to point out, individual his and her, or I should say all gender restroom facilities, again, providing universal access. IT closet, a janitor's closet, another common smaller gathering space. And a great feature here that we amplified is access to a walking track that looks down to the gymnasium. So again, a function that's open to the community for when it's not so nice outside to use. People can come in here and just, again, quite large around the perimeter and looks down to the gymnasium. Other functions in this back area is the fire department, And again, the law enforcement police department functions, administrative functions, with another larger gathering space that could support emergency functions. You know, the intent of this facility with these folks, with these user groups operating or having a presence in this facility, is to support, for example, with the fire department, they could have, they could provide healthcare monitoring functions, continuation of vaccines. Should we have another pandemic, it could take on that role where it has the adjacency to the gymnasium, and the gymnasium has a capacity to function as a large space that can handle larger crowds and those types of needs. So in summary, this really is a facility for the community that provides a multitude of functions, I think, that will benefit the city of East Providence. I know we're not taking questions. Well, we will take questions, but not responses. I believe that's going to be recorded. But the intent, as the mayor may have indicated, is to really have input from the community, to really have this process be a grassroots, local input from the community, from the folks who are going to use this facility. In summary, I'll share an image that again, this is conceptual.
Joe, hold on. Can you just
Sure.
stay on this page for a second real quick?
Sure.
Because I just want to make sure that the public understands the upstairs space. It's important to us to provide our police officers a training facility that also serves multiple purposes, right? Right now, our East Providence Police Department building is really an undersized building. You know, they've outgrown some of it. The planning and training department are the personnel who are responsible for policies, rules and regulations, and training officers on the latest procedures and different things that happen. They do simulated shooting exercises and things like that. So in the past, they've actually used the space at the community center, at the senior center, to do some of these trainings, and they kind of all over the place. This would provide for our police department a home for the planning and training department, as well as the ability to set up in that section. If you want to go down to the section to the right, Joe, where you're right here. So we wanted to provide the members of our law enforcement agency the ability to have a room where they could come and exercise, work out. So this would end up being a gym space, not the entire space. We would break it out into, like you mentioned earlier, maybe some workforce training space, as well as some gymnasium space. That's all those fine details will be worked out in the end. But the purpose of this would be to give them a facility where they could come. You know, if they're working the midnight to 8 on their lunch break, they come in and they would be welcome to come in and work out. If they're working days, they're welcome to come and work out. They'd have their own facility. Most people don't know this, but our firefighters, most firehouses has, I think all of them have a workout facility in it where the firefighters are able to work out on a daily basis to keep fit. Our police officers really don't have that. So we'd love to be able to provide this for our men and women of the East Providence Police Department. Additionally, the space that you're looking at there, the office space, our internal affairs department right now is using some space in City Hall. Internal affairs is where the public would go to make, if they had an issue with the way something was handled or they had a complaint to file, they would be able to go speak with our internal affairs officers so they can conduct the investigation. What's good about this is that they are in a non-threatening situation. They're not at the police department. It's a community center. So we welcome them to come in, and people will be able to come in and talk to them. Similar to how they do now at City Hall. It's a non-threatening environment. People can come in, walk in anonymously, and come and talk to someone if they wanted to. Joe, if you go to the left, where the fire department side was going to be, the fire department side. So we learned through this pandemic over the last 2 years that we need a facility that's large enough to handle mass vaccinations. But not only that, we could have a weather event. We could need a space for a cooling center. We could need a space for a warming center. We could need a space for during a hurricane or whatever it may be. And we want to have this space in our city that we can put to use during these unforeseen circumstances, these emergency circumstances. So the space in red, which is number 203, that would be for our planning department, for our firefighters, for our fire department, and also would have space for our EMA team when they were deploying the gymnasium as a EMA center or something that they were dealing with. Could be vaccines, could be a place for people to sleep at night because of a bad storm, things of that nature. To the right in blue would be our community police. My hope and Chief Francisconi's hope is that we want to create more programs with our youth, and we want our police officers to be right where our youth congregate and gather. And we want to create interactive programs so our police officers and our youth can interact on a daily and regular basis. But also this would provide more space and take more people away from the police department building and move them here to this space. So that kind of explains those two areas a little bit in more detail for anybody who's listening. I'm trying to see if there's anything else we want to talk about. There's a couple of questions. Joe, I know you're going to show the exterior version afterwards.
Sure.
But right now, let's stay on here. If there's any questions, we can try to take a look at it while people are asking questions online. So I got a question here from Susan Escherich. Could you include an auditorium? Yes. This auditorium is directly in response to the needs of the community. We are supporting our arts community in all ways possible, and it's kind of disappointing when you see a great group that we have here at JDP Theater, located right here in East Providence. They have to go rent space in Woonsocket to perform their shows. This past weekend they had a great performance, but they couldn't have it in East Providence. They had it in Woonsocket. So this new space would not only meet those needs of the performing arts community, but it also would meet the needs of other groups in the community. You could be wanting to put together a training session for your workforce, and you need a big space where you can congregate. So if you're a local business and you have a big workforce and you need a place to do training, this could be the place where you come do your training. Besides the performing arts aspect of it, it could be used by us to also do some workforce training. One of the components of the funding that the governor is putting together, the $47 million, is that this be a multi-purpose educational facility that can target multiple points. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to meet the needs of our community. Also, we're gearing this so that we can get access to that funding. We're hoping that funding becomes available to us to help us build this. I see a comment here from Jen Cahoon. As the chair of the East Providence Arts Council, I'd like to commend this administration for not only finally bringing this project to fruition, twice approved by the citizens, but for including the performing arts as a part of the process. This will be an absolutely invaluable addition to our community. We have long advocated for a performing arts space, and this would be amazing. We appreciate that. Mary Nascimento, will there be a gym for the community to use? Yes. As a matter of fact, I think, Mr. Caldera, you identified one of the gym space as a program space for workforce development, but that's actually the downstairs gym, if you want to show people where that is.
Right here?
No, the workout space. The workout space is going to be right back here.
Back here. These two functions back here.
Right. So this, the 104 room, that would be where we would have workout equipment and gear. And what we did is we actually set up two workout locations, one for the general public to use, and one that would be just for our police officers to use. Only because police officers, they're in and out. They've got they're out there dealing with people in a positive manner, but sometimes they're dealing with people in not so positive a manner. Not that they're doing something bad, but they have to arrest people. And it just to me, I think for their safety, and they raised some concerns. We had a meeting with the union, and they raised some concerns that they thought it'd be better and more and work out better if they had their own little space. So yes, Henry Caparco and Mary Nascimento asked the same question. Room 104 would absolutely be a workout room for the public so they can use it. Paul Gomes, why not have a pool instead of another auditorium? We have one at the high school, but we lost our pool. What is the timeline? Where are the funds coming from? Will the taxpayer incur any of the costs? Well, Paul, great questions. Right now, the Boys and Girls Club in East Providence has a beautiful indoor pool. Pods has an indoor pool. And we will look at, because we had heard other people talking about a pool, we're going to look at whether or not we can fit a pool on this site. I'm not quite so certain we can't. So that's something that we can look at. It doesn't have to be an Olympic-sized pool, but maybe something that could fit into part of the footprint that would allow that to be a reality. We'll take a look at that. Timeline, we'd like to move this project along as quickly as possible. That's why we're looking at a piece of property that we currently own, because we have a timeline. We have access to ARPA funds, and those ARPA funds need to be earmarked by a certain timeline, by a certain date certain. So that's why we're looking right now at using a piece of property that we currently use, that we have control over, that we can move this project along as quickly as possible. This phase of the project is to get community input. We'll come back to the community again if we, once we add any changes that we think we should be adding, and we'll share what the final project may be with renderings, exterior renderings, interior renderings, and things more detailed so you can see it more and visualize it more. So that's going to be coming. Funding, we're looking at multiple sources of funding. We're looking at ARPA funds that we were allocated. We're looking at working with the governor's office to allocate some of the multi-purpose community center funding that he's put into the budget. If that gets approved, that's $47 million. The good news is that we have a head start. We are ahead of the game because we started this process. We're putting plans together. Not every community has that. So we're ready to roll. Governor McKee has been a good friend to the city of East Providence. I've enjoyed working with him. We have a great relationship. And I'm certain that if that funding gets allocated and passed by the General Assembly, that we'll be able to get some of that funding allocated to this project. Jay Frails, this would be a wonderful addition to our community. Thank you, Jay. I really appreciate that. Susan Estrich says that looks great. I really appreciate that. Susan, wait till it's completely done. Yes, Council President Robert Brittle is asking, will there be a retractable divider curtain to separate the two basketball courts? Yes, absolutely. So what we envision, and why another reason why we like this location is that during the day, our seniors use our East Providence Senior Center. And generally by 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, they leave and they go home. They don't tend to stay late, right? So what we envision is that during the day, our senior population will be utilizing our senior center, but there are many seniors. By the way, you're a senior now if you're 55 or older. So I'm almost a senior myself. I'm 53. A couple more years, I can join the senior center and become a card-carrying member of the East Providence Robert Rock Senior Center. What we envision is that this multi-purpose playing space, not only will it accommodate basketball, but we would love to see some pickleball courts lined in there. That's a big sport that's really trending well amongst the older population. It's less dynamic on the joints, but it's a lot of fun. We would allow, we'd be having the ability for our seniors to come in and participate in basketball, shooting baskets, playing pickleball. If the police department were doing some type of training where they needed some space, we could absolutely close off half the court, and one half is being used by the police department for ground fighting or defensive tactics training or whatever it may be, while the other side is being used by the public. Or you can have multiple groups one's using one half of the court, the other's using the other half. So Council President Brittle, that's a great question. Yes, we do plan on putting that in there. Jillian Giswaldi, thank you for the shout out. Mr. Mayor, our concern that we have from a theater perspective is the need for changing room space or an area to keep the cast backstage and for a loading dock entrance for set pieces and equipment. Are these included in the plans for the Auditorium Theater space? I think, Mr. Caldera, we were thinking about looking at ways to accommodate that, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So we are considering, obviously, those are all necessary support spaces. Certainly, it won't be to the capacity of a larger theater, but certainly there'll be areas, as you can see in the stage, areas that are concealed where props can be stored. Delivery of props will have oversized doors for receiving area to bring in off hours the different components of the props. We are considering green rooms. We are considering the necessary support spaces and amenities that will enable the theater or performance to be utilized in this space. So yes to all those things.
Thank you. So on behalf of the East Providence Heritage Days, Inc., we love the idea of a performance space. Is it possible to enlarge the seating capacity? I think the seating capacity is at 300. What was it at?
We have 308 seats. The facility is
308
fully ADA compliant. Yeah, so again, it's limiting the size of the theater to the functions that seem to be appropriate and at the right scale that this building will serve. So certainly, once you get into a larger number of that, then the space requirements, life safety, fire protection, it alters once you get into a larger capacity seating. But
And
that's certainly something.
Maybe Jillian Giswaldi from JDP can tell us. I think where they were up in Woonsocket, it was a much smaller seating capacity. 300 is actually a pretty deep, from talking to different people, 300 is actually a pretty good size theater. Jillian, please chime in. You're the expert on theaters, I'm not. So, but thank you, Alba, for that. And also a fully equipped art room. That could be part of the programming that we can put into these multi-use programming rooms. Where will parking be to accommodate a 300-seat auditorium, then add the other rooms simultaneously? We envision, thank you, Jane, for that. We envision that this multi-use facility will be used at different times of the day for different functions. You're talking about theater shows are probably going to be on Friday nights, Saturday nights, and so forth. You're looking at different times for different uses. So we feel that with the additional parking that's been identified, what is the total spaces right now?
So we have total parking spaces is 160. But if I may point out that I think this is a great location because any crowded parking can be, like on an evening, can be supported by the high school. And we have a pedestrian bridge here that can get someone safe. I mean, if there's consideration of over, should you have the need for additional parking, there's the means of accessing the adjacent high school parking lot. Again, I'm just throwing that out there, but certainly there's a way of safe crossing the road to access that additional parking, should this be maxed out.
Here's a question from an anonymous attendee. How do we address concerns from people who don't feel safe in the presence of police? If this is to be a place for the entire community, how do we make everyone feel comfortable in this community space regularly occupied by the police? I think the purpose is to create relationships between our police so that we can identify them and feel that they're just another member of society, another member of our community. They're human like everybody else. I think breaking down those barriers are super important. So I appreciate that question, but I have great faith in Chief Francisconi, and we've spoken about some of the programs that we would like to launch eventually. These are all things that are in the works, but greater interaction with our youth, greater interaction programming that we could put together to work with our youth. And we certainly want to see people feel comfortable. And if they're not feeling comfortable, we'll try to break down those barriers. How will the traffic from the high school and county? I'm not sure what that means. What is the timeline for the funds? The funds, well, so our funding from ARPA, I believe they need to be allocated, or not allocated, but they need to be dedicated by, I believe, 2025. And I don't want to give you the wrong information, but that's what I believe. Rita Capitosto, East Providence Health Elk Creek Zone will love the opportunity to bring health, education, and social service resources to the center so residents can access resources where they naturally gather. We think that's beautiful. I mean, we actually had a great conversation with the East Providence Boys and Girls Club about creating workforce training in the facility with a daycare component. So, this was before we had put this initial preliminary plan in place, but we had a great conversation with them, and it makes all the sense in the world. There's people out there that need workforce training and they can't get it because they don't have someone to watch their children. So the Boys and Girls Club proposed, quite honestly, a marvelous idea to see if we can fit into this community center some type of a workforce training component that would also allow for, a daycare component, so that young parents or parents that don't have the means to hire a babysitter or pay for daycare, they'd be able to still come to the workforce training, and there'd be that component. And I know that EVCAP also has early Head Start programming throughout the city. So we're looking to work with whatever agency that would best serve the needs of our community, and we can all work together. It doesn't just have to be between the Boys and Girls Club. It could definitely be between the Boys and Girls Club, EBCAP, and others in the community to make these things work. Are there locker rooms for sports teams? Well, we didn't include, Alicia, we did not include locker rooms for sports teams. This is more of a the way we're thinking about it was more of youth programming. They come in, they play, and they leave. If we're running a tournament, they come in, they're there during the tournament and they leave. So we didn't plan that out. It doesn't mean it's not something that we could do, but that adds significantly to the cost. So that's something. And also, don't forget, our footprint is limited if you look at what we have here. So we certainly don't want to see, we'll take a look at that though. Will there be air conditioning? Mr. Caldera, I believe there is. Air conditioning?
Yes, the building will be fully conditioned, will be climate control, heating and conditioning, heating and cooling all year round. And the system that will be considered has the capacity, a space like this, a facility like this, it requires, because of the load capacity. You have a gym, you could have easily 60 people there. You could have up to 750 people. So we need to condition the space accordingly. And so it will be zoned to support the various occupancy requirements that each function has. So yes, and it will be, again, there's all systems in the construction, there'll be an element of sustainability, energy efficiency. So all those things will definitely be weighed and considered in the further development of the design of this facility.
Beautiful. Mr. Frails asked, does this plan take up the field that the kids use for soccer? Yeah, the field that's used for soccer is used on a limited basis. We do have additional fields. We've been making improvements throughout the city to some of our fields. There's a field at Mercer and Lyon that could get used. There's a field at Hull Street that they can use. So unfortunately, yes, we're going to lose some of the field. Paul Gomes, can seniors and taxpayers use the pool? Paul, good question. I don't think so. I think you have to pay at the Boys and Girls Club. I'm not sure. I'd have to ask the Boys and Girls Club what their fee structure is to be a member of their pool. And no, I don't think there will be a fee for residents to be a member of this center. I haven't heard that before. So I know that there is a fee to be a member of the Robert Rock Senior Center. So I don't know. I'm not quite sure. I'd have to ask Diane Sullivan, who's on the call, if she can chime in. I mean, I think there may actually be a fee right now for recreational people to be part of the rec center. So I'd have to check into that, Paul. I don't want to give you the wrong answer. Jillian Giswell, 300 seats is a great size, not too big, but not too small. Our last venue was 150 seat black box, but we have also performed in 700 plus seat auditoriums. 300 seats is a good median number and will be intimate, but not limited. Thank you, Jillian, appreciate that. Alicia, this is a great facility to bring more unity and improve police relations. I am most excited to have a space for empowerment, speaker series, and poetry, spoken and word. Absolutely, Alicia. That auditorium space will be used for many, many purposes, and I think it'd be great for our community. Will the architect partner with an arborist to ensure native plants are primarily planted throughout the outdoor grounds? That could be part of the plan, correct? Mr. Caldera?
Yes, that's correct. As part of the sustainability initiative, we would carry that out to the exterior of the building. So native plants will be utilized, plants that probably would require very little watering. Again, part of the sustainability site. That's big picture as well as in detail, we would consider all those things as part of the landscaping development.
Excellent. Jillian Giswaldi asked, what are the stage dimensions? Can you share that? Can you take us to that stage view and
Sure.
the stage should be at least 30 feet across and 15 feet deep. Do we have?
So we actually have a little more than that. I want to say we have 25 feet deep, and this I'm gonna quickly. Hopefully, I don't screw this up. I'm gonna show a dimension here. Hold on, bear with me. Sorry.
The stage is about 45 feet wide and 25 feet deep.
Thank you, Catherine.
Excellent. Thank you, Catherine.
Catherine saves the day. Sorry. Great. That's excellent.
Rita Capotosto. I always butcher your name. I'm sorry, Rita. She's from EB Cap and also very involved with East Providence, has informs us that they also have a workforce development program. So that's great. Robin Covington wants to know if we can add a pool. Seems to be a popular request. We'll take a look at that. If I recall correctly, the East Providence voters approved the Senate to move to Pierce Field. Could you please address why the location has changed? I'm not sure what that vote was. I'd have to look at the document. I don't know if they approved it to move or if they approved funding, but it was never acted on. Mayor, solar panels to support energy efficiency. Yeah, that sounds like something we can do. Council President Britta was asking about solar panels. Mr. Caldera, would there be room on the roof to put solar panels if we wanted to?
Certainly, yes. We would evaluate that option. Certainly, we have, as you can take a look at it, we have a large footprint here between the gymnasium building as well as the auditorium. So that's definitely something to consider. We always weigh in the cost, the initial cost, we weigh in the payback, but certainly it'll actually make the project possibly qualify for other funding opportunities that could be available by integrating solar energy.
Okay, thank you. How many trees will be taken down to accommodate the overflow parking? I think we have a parking lot there that's there now, so no trees, I don't think, or maybe a few. Recreation Director Diane Sullivan tells us that there currently is a fee. A recreation and a senior services do charge membership fees, so that is already an existing condition that happens. Now, the other thing too is, don't forget, these facilities, they're going to be rented out to organizations who want to come run tournaments. They want to run, it's going to be open to the members of our community, but there's also, certain conditions where you would have the ability to earn money to support the operations of this program. Thank you for the responses. I can definitely see how it adds the cost, but it could be beneficial for multiple reasons, especially for those working out and helping with people facing homelessness who may just need a shower while there. They could also get their hands on necessary resources, food assistance, job training, housing resources, just something to consider. I would be happy to help. Thank you, Alicia. We really appreciate that. We'll look at that. We'll look and see if we could put in, like I said, the footprint is kind of tight, but we could take a look at that. I think that kind of wraps it up for all the questions. I don't see any other questions. I want to thank Joe and Catherine for making the presentation. Like I said, it's a preliminary. This is preliminary design, and we hope that with the input from the community, we'll be able to grow upon this design. And of course, if you have any ideas or suggestions and you want to send us an email, you can email us at mayorsoffice@eastprovinceri.gov. mayorsoffice@eastprovinceri.gov. We'll be happy to take that into consideration. With that being said, I want to thank you and the members of the community for joining us today. And I want to thank Mr. Caldera. This will be, we did record this, and we'll be posting it onto our website, eastprovinceri.gov. Thank you.